Hello, everyone. Hello. I'm so glad you're with us. I'm Coach Pete. Each first and third Wednesday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, we'll help you get unstuck and keep moving forward toward your destiny. You can listen to the show on Facebook Live, your favorite podcast platform, and my website, petecoaching.com. Today, we're going to have a special guest and a personal friend of mine, Dave Mead, on the show. We'll hear his story. You'll learn more about the CliftonStrengths assessment and how Dave founded a company called WeAlign. I'm excited for you to meet him because he's a really great guy. And you're going to hear his positive, powerful things he has to share with us coming right out of his own life story. But first, we're going to open up with our quote for the day. This is one of my all-time favorites. You'll often hear me quoting it. Be who you is, because if you ain't who you is, then you is who you ain't. Now, I wish I could attribute to that someone. When I've researched it, it's got a bunch of different names. If you know who actually quoted that, let me know. But it's so powerful. Be who you is, the real you. Because if you ain't who you is, then you is who you ain't. Meaning you're living someone else's life, or a life that society kind of carved out for you instead of being authentic. We want you to be authentic. And that's what we're about here on Dynamic Destiny, is clarifying your life purpose and then pursuing that so you can live the life you were meant to live. I got some feedback from a listener from the past week, and this comes from John Pinter. And John writes and says, "Hi, Pete. Yesterday, while driving home, I had time to listen to your October 16th broadcast on the topic of clarifying your life purpose. I found this challenging, especially at my age. Sometimes I feel I've missed the boat at almost 60 years old. The show was interesting with practical insights given. Keep on pressing forward." Okay, well, John, you're not alone. In fact, a lot of people have a quote unquote awakening later on in life, and they look back and they think, oh my gosh, what's my life all about? Have I missed the boat? Am I over the hill? And you can feel that way, and it's pretty depressing. I don't recommend it. In fact, let's take this whole thing and spin it a different way. Let's look at a positive side. You actually have an advantage due to your life experience, that if you apply the principles in the episode that you were listening to, you can get to clarity much faster. I have a number of older coaching clients, and I'm going to tell you, when we do these exercises, it's a lot faster. They're not sitting there, I wonder what I've been good at in my life. They know, hey, I've tried this, I've tried that, this has worked. And they have just general better self-awareness. These exercises will basically help you collect that and do something productive with it. So, but here's the key. You have to do the exercises. You can't just listen to these podcasts and just think, okay, that was nice. You got to go work these things out. And I always try to emphasize in these shows, very, very practical things that you can put your hands to and get insights from and apply to your life. So again, those principles from episode 3, to get clarity on your life purpose: ask other people, ask your history, ask science, ask a professional, and ask God. Okay, so once you have that clarity, you can really start to map out a fulfilling and productive next chapter in your life. So, John, no looking back with regrets. You're moving forward in the current chapter that you're in, carving that out. Okay, so thanks for the feedback, John. Hey, I'd love to hear from you as well. Keep sending in those comments via email. askpete@petecoaching.com. That's askpete@petecoaching.com. Hey, now I'm so excited. I get to introduce my special guest today, Dave Mead. I first met Dave in a coach education course. As professional coaches, we're always applying ourselves to ongoing education. And this organization is the Professional Christian Coaching Institute, or PCCI. And we were in a class where you have to pair up and do peer coaching with your fellow classmates. And I saw Dave. In fact, it was only over the phone. I just heard him talking, and he just seemed so relaxed And there was something so inviting about him. And then I looked up his LinkedIn profile. I'm like, holy cow, this guy's like really accomplished. I've got to meet this guy who's really accomplished so much, but still has such a humble, friendly demeanor to him. Well, I'm going to let Dave tell the rest of the story. I don't want to steal that from him. But since then, we've become good friends, and we're actually business partners as well. Dave is a West Point grad, and he retired after 31 years of service in the Army, serving in Kuwait, Afghanistan, and at the U.S. Army War College. He's been on staff with the Navigators, that's a Christian discipleship organization, for 33 years, where he and his wife Melody oversaw more than 400 staff who served on 112 different military installations around the world. Dave's also the founder of WeAlign, a strengths-based coaching company. He's a certified WeAlign coach, a certified Strengths Finder coach, and champion. He's helped over 150 coaching clients align with their design. And he's also a distinguished Toastmaster. He enjoys reading, public speaking, and golf. And he has 2 adult children and 3 grandkids. Welcome, Dave Mead. Yay. Let's hear it. Okay. Hey, Dave, that's a super impressive list of accomplishments, yet you remain really humble and approachable. And getting ready for the show, you said that you were living a life that's invisible, which I kind of find really intriguing. I wanted to hear more about. In fact, it was so intriguing. We titled this episode, moving from a life that's invisible to one of significance. So, Dave, tell us some of your story and how you were in this invisible life situation.
Thanks, Pete. Yeah, I remember in 3rd grade when a teacher wrote on the blackboard, "Who am I?" as being the pivotal question of life. Well, for a little 8-year-old, that, and by the way, living in a military family, moving a lot, I just sort of was a chameleon where I would just get into an environment and blend in. And so that's growing up, I never really answered that question, who am I? Was fortunate enough to get accepted into West Point. And I soon learned that if you're, at least for me, in the way that I was designed, if I was going to get through it, I needed to get into the thin middle. I didn't want to be so bad, it doesn't matter if it was grades or leadership or physical education. Because if you go too low, then you get in the spotlight. But if you get too high, then you get in the limelight. So I lived that invisible life right in the center.
Kind of at the peak of the bell curve, huh?
Well,
the median. Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is when you're invisible, you don't know who you are. And so I graduated and just kind of played this game on how to blend in, how to be invisible. And it just doesn't serve a life well, because that is not the way we're designed. We're designed to live a life that's fully alive and make an impact on others. So when you're invisible like that, you can't do that. Hey, by the way, about John's comment to you at 60, I think my story is going to encourage him. And by the way, Colonel Sanders didn't start his fried chicken franchise until he was 66. So there's always hope for all of us.
Yeah, awesome. Dave, I want to hear how you moved out of, absolutely want to hear how you moved out of being invisible. But before we do that, I think a lot of people can relate to that, or they've gotten so used to it or numb to it that they almost don't even know they're there anymore. What's it like living there? I mean, what's that experience?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different words that we use. Is that we can become super people pleasers. Like, hey, what's what you want to hear, not what I want to say. We become super risk averse because, man, if I fail or succeed, it's kind of like, jolts of light, a bolt of a charge. Don't want to do that. I don't want to get shocked. So it's a horrible place because you're not yourself. I mean, you're guessing what other people want, so you're living by expectations, and then you're just trying to fit in whatever that situation is, and you never live out of who I am. So what's it feel like, Pete? It feels
Yeah.
lonely. That's what it feels like.
But here you are surrounded, you got this whole list of accomplishments. You got a loving family, living your life right? You're doing right living, but you can feel lonely because what? Because people don't really know who you are and they're not relating to who you are.
Right. And it's because I'm not living who I am. I'm not letting them know who I am. And frankly, before the whole CliftonStrengths journey for me, I couldn't even articulate it. So I didn't know who I was. And there's a couple of ways that we get to know is through affirmation, where people speak truth into our lives. You did it for me when you said he's done a lot, but he's a humble guy. That humility was thanks for the affirmation. The other stuff are just platitudes, and that's a resume stuff. But when we can touch on a character of a person, then we're speak to that person. So affirmations away, but no, I just didn't. I just assumed this is the way life was supposed to be, lived. I didn't have a clue.
Dave, there's so many I gotta say, especially it seems like guys, but I'm sure women have their own versions of this as well. But us, guys being, providers and, the dad and carrying all this responsibility. When you look around and you see most other people living the same way, you're like, I guess this is all there is. And you kind of lower your standards, you lower your expectations. I guess I'm supposed to be lonely.
How a good dad is supposed to act, or a friend is expected to do this. So you live out of expectations and shoulds, which can put you in a bad place. Me, I'm positive. If I didn't have such high optimism, I could have ended up in a very dark place quickly, because it is lonely, and you're just guessing on how to live life instead of knowing who you are.
Okay, we're gonna press the pause button on this, and the story gets a lot better. I just wanted to tee it up. We don't want to get you all depressed here, but hey, if you can identify with this, you want to stick around for the rest of the show, because we're going to talk about ways to get out of that and move away from that. You are listening to Dynamic Destiny with Coach Pete Cafarcio and my guest, Dave Mead. We're going to go to break. When we come back, you're going to hear what helped Dave get a language for who he really is, and what really unlocked the power of that. You don't want to miss it. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Dynamic Destiny Radio with Coach Pete, where we unpack your powerful potential. You can learn more about me and get lots of helpful content at petecoaching.com. Hey, well, we're back with my special guest and friend, Dave Mead, who's the CEO of WeAlign. Dave, before we took the break, you were talking about being invisible. What led you out of that and to the place that you're at now?
Yeah, there's a couple of things. The main thing was probably having a language to articulate who I am. I've always had, ever since like that third grade, the big question on who am I? I knew I was more than just another human being in a land of billions, but I didn't have that language. And I got the language from CliftonStrengths assessment tool. And I actually took it probably 10 years ago. I got it, I read it, thought, man, that's pretty close to me, the top 5 for sure. And then I put it back up the shelf.
Yep. It's, we call that the top drawer syndrome. You take these assessments, it could be anything, DISC, Enneagram. Oh, that's cool. Stick it in the top drawer, forget about it. So, but this one obviously took hold for you for a different reason. What unlocked that?
Yeah, it was actually the power of coaching. I ran into a strengths finder or a CliftonStrengths coach who was able to help me understand the beauty of each of the 34 talents, and then personalized it for me through great questions. And so it was really the tool plus the coaching that gave me the big aha.
What, Dave, is there one particular aha you got when you were talking about personalizing? That sounds really interesting to me. Was there one that you got that was like, wow, that was...
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know my talents, but when you put my top five together, they equal inspirer. So I
Mm.
would love to inspire people, and I can see how they can all work together. My positivity with my strategic and futuristic, and
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah. That's cool because we see when we coach people through CliftonStrengths, it's not just the one talent in isolation. It's how they kind of play off of each other, and that's such a unique combination for each person. And totally true. Dave is very inspiring. That's one of his big effects. Cool. So, Dave, so coaching, is this a new concept to you when you first went through that?
yeah, I've kind of been around it a little bit, and actually took some training at work, but it never until I actually was coached, it never impacted me.
Hmm.
I could ask questions, but it was going through the personal coaching that was really the game changer.
Okay. So you got hooked?
I did.
Yeah.
I got through these talents, and it takes a while. This guy, it would take about 10 hours to go through all 34.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, I figured out, you know what? I think I can do this quicker. This is my number one maximizer. I think we can do this quicker, better. And I figured out how to get through all 34 in 5 hours, which is still a packed sessions with the client, but it's aha, clarification. You draw the lines. It's just been a wonderful process. I got so excited though that I was able to find who I am. For example, my individualization, I know it's high for you, number 34 for me. I am the world's worst gift giver because individualization is all about finding the unique person and then customizing for that person. I can't do that. So if you ever want me to give you a gift, it's not going to be good. Never has been good. So it was aha. And so I could explain to friends, this is why I gave you that lousy gift. I didn't know. I don't have that. It's a non-pattern. I just don't have it in me.
Okay. So Dave, you before you're talking about invisible and getting this language for who you are, it sounds like also knowing who you're not. I mean, it's funny because you're talking about this right now, and I'm looking at your face, and it's like it almost seems like you're freed up from it. Like you're happy that I don't have to be somebody I'm not.
Yeah, what you know how the first big emotion was relief. It's like, oh, okay, whew, I don't have to do that because I got to be aware of it. I got to be able to handle that. But it's not. Yeah, I don't have to
Get
do
it
it.
off your shoulders. Don't
It
should on
is.
yourself.
That's
Yeah.
right.
That's awesome. That is so cool. So, we're going with your story here. So you have developed this process, and I think you had told me at one point that when you started coaching other people, and they were getting really turned on to this, and like because they got turned on, they wanted to become coaches as well. Is that...
Yeah, it's interesting how I think transformation works. All of a sudden, you see somebody get the light bulb on. It's like, oh, this has changed my life, or this has helped me so much that I will never be the same again. And
Hmm.
then you pass that on to somebody, whatever that is, and they experience the same aha, the same transformation. They can't help but pass it on too. So yeah, WeAlign started because I was just coaching people because I was excited about clarity in my own life and excited to pass the tool on so that others could get the same clarity. And as a result, they said, hey, can I do this too? And I said, sure.
So Dave, what is WeAlign?
Yeah, well, WeAlign was actually, I started with a friend back in 2011. So we became an LLC back then, put it on the shelf because I knew it would be an instrument, a firm, an organization to help people. I just didn't know what it was going to be. When
Mm-hmm.
I found the CliftonStrengths tool, I knew that was what WeAlign was all about because we want to help. We align your design.
Hmm.
We want people to know who they are. Matter of fact, our vision statement is to rehumanize the world through genuine identity and belonging, to know who you are and to know your tribe.
Rehumanize the world. I love it. Rehumanize the world. I mean, I do love it because I joined WeAlign.
Yeah,
I
you were
did.
you were one of the early folks that kind of came on. Hey,
Yeah, yeah. So hey, so a little promo. If you want to learn more about WeAlign, go to the website. It's WeAlignCoaching.com. WeAlign coaching.com. And Dave, when someone engages with WeAlign, what can they expect? What's that process going to look like?
Yeah, if client or coach, it doesn't matter, but you'll be coached through your 34 CliftonStrengths talents, so you know who you are, what you can do well, and who you're not. But after that, it's an easy onboarding that we've got out there that we can certainly tell you about.
Okay. And I'm a WeAlign coach. So when we engage folks, we're gonna look at your assessment. We're gonna coach you through probably 5 1-hour sessions where we go real deep on your top strengths, talk about you get to talk about how does this play out in your life. We're also gonna WeAlign's developed because we've coached I think are we getting close to around 500?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah, about 500 different clients, and we pool that information. It's anonymized, okay, but that tribal knowledge that we've gained, we then have one of the things that's super helpful that we hear from our clients is if you have this talent, you are going to have certain needs and motivations that are associated with that talent. And if you're going to flourish in that and be fully who you really are, you need to take some practical steps to make sure these needs are being met. And I'll tell you, when I get into that, it's transformative. In fact, the last episode we had Jody Thompson on, talked about it, changed his life, put him on a completely new job with and a big boost in going for the things that he really wanted. Hey, Dave, we're going to be coming up on break, but before we do that, I want to just mention, Dave and I had talked about this. We have a free giveaway we want to do, and we want to give away to anybody, if you're interested, a free 30-minute coach discovery call. Okay, that's when you can sit and talk with a coach, and they're going to help you clarify your sweet spot, the areas where you have the most potential for growth, as well as things that might be hindering you. And to get that set up, it's pretty simple. Just send an email to my address, askpete@petecoaching.com. In the subject line, put the word discovery and just tell us a very little bit about yourself. We'll get back to you. We'll schedule a time to talk, put you in touch with a WeAlign coach. And it's not going to be a hard sales pitch or anything. We just legitimately want to bless you. We want you to get a level of self-discovery, and we can answer any questions that you want. Okay, I'm Coach Pete. I'm here with my guest, Dave Mead. He's the CEO of WeAlign, and you're listening to Dynamic Destiny Radio. When we come back after the break, you're going to hear some powerful stories of how WeAlign has touched people's lives. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're back on Dynamic Destiny Radio with Coach Pete, where we unpack your powerful potential. As a reminder, you can catch any archived episodes, subscribe to the podcast, and get lots of helpful content and resources at petecoaching.com. Today, my guest is CEO Dave Mead, and he's been telling us about his company WeAlign and the CliftonStrengths process. Dave, what's the big so what with WeAlign and going through this process?
Yeah, it's unlike any other type of assessment tool. You know, our product isn't going to be a color, a shape, or a number, or animal. It's not going to clump you in a group of.
I'm a giraffe. No.
Yeah,
okay.
But it won't clump you in a group of 4, 9, or 16. It's going to lead you to the unique you. There's only one you, and as a result, after the coaching session, you will know who you are, what you can do well, and who you aren't.
Awesome. Well, Dave, leading into the break, we said we were going to come back and tell some stories about people's lives that have been affected. I'm going to kick it off real quick just to say the reason I joined WeAlign was my own story. Dave coached me through CliftonStrengths. I had top door syndrome. I had taken it a couple of years before. Said, okay, that's interesting. Maybe makes sense. But some of the words they use, the titles for these strengths, I didn't quite get it. But when I went through the process, I had a couple real profound effects. One of them was I happen to have a strength. It's called command, and it has gotten me in a lot of trouble in my past. It's a very, very powerful strength, and without maturity, it can be fairly abrasive. And so I had come to this point where I was constantly suppressing that in my life and beating myself up for it. And when I realized through coaching, like, this is who I am, and I'm meant to be a leader, and I do direct people, and I do tell them where to go, and there's a place for that, and it's pretty powerful. It took me a couple of days to really wrestle with that. I couldn't shake it out of my head, but it really helped me embrace my design, and it was pretty powerful. So I want to thank you for giving me the time on that. But it did make a big impact in my life, so much so I became a WeAlign coach.
And Pete, that's part of the whole coaches culture that we have here. We're just a bunch of coaches that have been transformed through an assessment tool that we're trying to pass on to everybody.
Yeah.
And that's the power. This is not academic for us. This is
Absolutely.
Our lives.
Yeah, it's about life.
Who we are.
Life to life. One of my clients, I brought her. It's a female. She is a global thought leader in a very specific technology practice area, and she's really high on the intellectual themes, brainstorming, visionary ideas, futuristic, all these things. And after she got clarity on that, she took a look at everything she was doing during her very, very packed week. She's like a producer. She just gets tons of stuff done. But realized that some of the things that she was in the executing areas were really bogging her down and getting her stuck. So she wasn't free to go envision and inspire. And so she's made through some ongoing coaching after the fact, really over the last year, she's been able to gradually jettison some of these things she was just stuck in maintenance mode. These are things she could hand off to other people so she could bring her best, which was leading, setting vision, inspiring, teaching, and pioneering new areas, because that's just who she is. If you ever met her, it's been a joy to coach her.
Yeah, Pete, that's exactly right. The first, it's the foundation. You know who you are, then you can fit. You know where you're going to fit, and you can impact through that fit. So we want to see people come fully alive in their design, crush whatever their personal goals are, and just be them.
Yeah.
Be you, unashamed. And your story about command is not a rare one. It happens most of the time where somebody actually has one of their strengths beaten down or beaten out or beaten up over it. You get beaten on the things that you've been designed to do. So this process can really help unleash you. I've got a client that I just started with. I've known him for 18 years. You would think I would know him really well.
Yeah.
In some ways I do, but I tell you what, in 1 hour of coaching him, I've known him deeper than I did in the whole 18 years.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Wow.
By the way, he pointed out to one of his strengths and said, no wonder I feel this way. It's because of this. And it added clarity to him.
Awesome. Hey, Dave, going back to that beaten down, beaten out, I especially find some of the real strong leadership gifts I find with women who have those talents, they have been accused like you're bossy or some of these other things, and you just see them, they carry it around. It's almost like a wound, really. In fact, I actually one time heard a kind of a prophetic person referred to that as a destiny wound. A destiny wound, meaning like I could tease you or mock you for something that's a weakness of yours, and who cares? Yeah, like for me, if you're going to tease me about my scatterbrainness or I can't stay on track, yeah, I get it. And it's kind of funny, and I've learned to accept it. But if you tease me about something that's core to who my real identity is and my gifting, that hurts. That's wounding, and that can really crush people. So yeah, we that's a kind of an unwritten rule within WeAlign. We stay away from teasing to someone's strengths. You can poke fun and have fun with each other on our weak areas, but not in our strengths, because that's really who we are.
Yeah, and then when we talk about rehumanizing, it's stepping away from our culture that it's a fractured culture. It beats you up. It doesn't know who you are. It can't affirm your strengths. So our culture does a poor job of doing that. Even our families who don't know who we are.
But well, Dave,
yeah, go ahead.
Tell us another story of one of your clients who's really been helped through WeAlign.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do have a lot of clients that want to become coaches, and you can see it when they have aha moments. One in particular didn't have any really relational talents in the top 5, but 6, 7, 8, 9 were. And it's like, oh man, when I just looked at my top 5, I thought that I didn't know what to do with all these relational aspects of my life. And then it's like we just kind of pulled off the cover there, opened the curtain, and then boom, there it was. And for a lot of clients, it's not even the top 5. It might be number 8 or 12, because if it is a given talent, I cannot turn it off. It feels like number 1, even though it might be number 12 or number 8. And so with any type of client, when they find that, hey, that's why I do what I do.
Hey, I'm just going to interject quick here. If you're listening, you have not taken the CliftonStrengths assessment. What this does, it takes 34 different talent areas and it rank orders them based on the assessment that you take. It rank orders them from the highest to the lowest of how that appears in your life. So when Dave's referring to things like your number 1 or your number 8, it's where they come rank ordered, and it's very revealing and insightful when you get to look at those. Dave, I recently coached a guy who's I'm a professional friends with. We're colleagues, and I walked him through the whole assessment, and he got very enthused about it. He he had all his wife and his 2 adult children. He had all 4 of them. All 4 of them have taken it now. And he goes, "We're all CliftonStrengths. We've been through the assessment, and we know these things." And they're all talking. They developed that language that they can refer to each other now and help each other and point things out.
Yeah, there's something powerful about being able to have a language, and you don't even need to use the words, right? To tell it, there's descriptors that all kind of fit really, really well. So language is super important. Knowing that everybody's unique all of a sudden raises emotional intelligence. That you're not the same as me, Pete. It's changed my whole coaching and even leadership style. Where somebody will come, "Hey, what would you do if you're in my shoes?" Well, I'm a totally different individual than you are. Let me ask from your talents and gifts what you think would be best for you. Changes everything.
And David, by the way, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, one of the most, I'm no longer surprised how powerful this is. Sometimes it leads to pure joy, and sometimes to sadness and tears. But it gives it, for one client, it was, this line when they're reading the descriptor is so important to me right now, but is so lacking in my life. And she realized that, this is the area that I'm missing. If I can fill this, everything else becomes complete. So it's a emotional, affirming journey to be coached through your CliftonStrengths.
Yeah. So Dave, we mentioned that there's this aha, like to own who you really are. There's a relief. I don't have to be somebody I'm not. The other thing I found too, Dave, is it can help people if you struggle with judgmentalism or judging others. It can really help diffuse that as well, because when you realize, hey, I'm who I am, and I'm not supposed to be more. For me, it's focus and discipline. I mean, I bring those up all the time. It's and consistency. All three of those are in my bottom. I'm not supposed to be more like that. There's no supposed. I'm supposed to be Pete. I'm supposed to be the activator, individual, futuristic, strategic guy that helps move people forward and has deep insight into things. That's who I'm supposed to be. And when I can let go of those other things, then I can drop judgment on other people too. It's like, it's no longer like, oh, you're not this, you're not that. It's like, oh, who are you? Wow, look at the way you show up. And I can appreciate people so much more. And now I don't expect them to, I realized, especially strategic was a big aha for me, was I see things very, very quickly. Like bam, 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 bam. I don't even have to think about it. It's just intuitive. And I used to get impatient with other people and kind of judge them like, hey, how come you don't see this? Until I realized, oh, it's not them. It's I have an exceptional gift in that. Oh, okay. Well, if they haven't been given that, and by the way, I was given it, so it's not something I can brag or claim, I earned it. I didn't. And so I can take that judgment and the expectation of other people. And you can, by the way, fill in the blank. It could be any other talent, like super, super hardworking or super focused, or how can you stay so calm under pressure? Right. Well, maybe you have a ranger going on or whatever. And I don't have that, but that's cool. Like, so then you just start appreciating people for who they are, not who they're supposed to be or who you want them to be. And it can just, you get along with people a lot better too. Okay. Hey, we're going to go to break. I'm here with my friend, Dave Mead, the CEO of WeAlign, and you've been listening to Dynamic Destiny Radio with Coach Pete. And when we come back, we are going to hear some more stories about how your team, that could be your work team or maybe other groups that you work with, how they can be affected by this. And we're going to repeat our special offer as well. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Dynamic Destiny Radio with Coach Pete, the show where we unpack your powerful potential. Send in your questions or comments to askpete@petecoaching.com or visit my website, www.petecoaching.com. Hey, I'm here with my guest, Dave Mead, the CEO of WeAlign, and he's been sharing some really powerful stories of changed lives through the WeAlign coaching process. And Dave, so far you've been telling us about different individuals, but I know that WeAlign also coaches teams. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, one of the biggest surprises as we were growing is the impact that this has on teams. Again, on the emotional intelligence side, which is one of the number one indicators of a performance team. When you understand who you are and you understand who your workmates are, you understand who they aren't, you can begin to promote their strengths and protect their non-patterns. And it adds in this whole new culture. So we do, and we work in government, profit, nonprofit, corporations, churches, whatever. We've had over 30 of these we call them team transformations. Probably one of the biggest is a well-known company that hired us after we coached them through their 5-hour process. We got them together, and they became closer. And what was interesting is that they had always a very stressful, challenging environment. And that because they got to know who they were, even some of the goals that were really frustrating or even demoralizing, they were able to align themselves in such a way where not only were they able to match it, but we see them making even 200% of what they thought they could do. They double their
What?
production.
What?
There's something about there's magic in culture, and that's why we humanize the world in both the genuine identity, but also belonging. If you belong to a team that knows you and got your best for you, you will crush your goals.
Well, Dave, we talked about the Clifton Strengths Assessment. What are some things that you do to help promote that? I mean, I hear that belonging thing. I think most of our listeners will be like, man, dang, I wish I had that. What are some things that you do to help to promote that belonging?
Yeah, I mean, we promoted during the coaching itself on if you're a part of the team, but the big deal is really on the whole EQ side, so the emotional intelligence. But we've got it on our website. We do have teams that come to us to ask, but we do require the 5 hours of coaching previously because you got to know, you got to set the baseline, who you are and who you aren't.
Yeah. Well, I've sat in on some of those team transformation sessions. They're pretty awesome. We also work in some neuroscience exercises and help people get back to a place where they want to pull away. We call them our relational circuits, and we teach them very practically how to stay connected to other people relationally. When they want to shut down, they want to withdraw or pull back, we show them, no, this is very, very practical and simple things you can do to press in and keep that team cohesion. So, like I said, as Dave was talking about, it really does make an impact to the bottom line. One of the things we do is we line up all of your Clifton Strengths results on the whole team, and you can see the whole team at once. And all of a sudden, it's no longer, hey, Susie drives me crazy because she's always, trying to keep the peace when we want to have good discussions. Until you realize Susie's gift or talent for harmony or harmonizing. And you're like, oh, that's why she does that all the time. And you know what? There's times when we really need that. And Susie can realize, because she's been through coaching, hey, if I overplay that in the wrong settings, it's inappropriate. There's times when I can really be not only a peacekeeper, but a peacemaker. You see the power in that. And you got somebody else with, all these different strengths, and you get to appreciate each other.
It could be Sam with analytical that's always asking questions. Can Sam just shut up? But Sam's adding invaluable a process there, these questions that will save the team tons of time and money.
Yeah. So folks, want to again tell you about WeAlign. Just go to our website, WeAlignCoaching.com. That's WeAlign coaching.com. And again, I'm going to highlight, we're doing a free giveaway, and that is a 30-minute coach discovery call that you can set up, and you'll just sit and talk with a WeAlign coach to help clarify your sweet spot, the areas where you have the most potential for growth, as well as things that might be hindering you. This, of course, won't be, it's an introduction, so it's not going to be the full power of the all the full Clifton Strengths assessment, but it'll give you a taste for it. It's not going to be high pressure sales pitch, just a way for you to engage. To schedule a call, send an email to askpete@petecoaching.com, askpete@petecoaching.com, and put in the subject line discovery. Just tell us a little bit about yourself in the body of the email, and then we'll get back to you and we'll schedule a time to talk. Definitely love to engage you there. Okay. Well, we're starting to wind down here. Dave, any final thoughts or things that you'd like to share with our audience here?
Yeah, don't ever lose hope. If you feel like you're stuck or you're lost or you just don't know who you are, if you're like me, this tool and then coaching on top of that will answer and give you insight to a lot of your questions and queries. So please check us out. It's not too good to be true. Transformation happens one life at a time, and you'll enjoy it.
Yeah. Dave, I know for you, this is, a late in life career, big change. Same for me, right? I was in nonprofit. You were in nonprofit Christian ministry. I did 22 years in high-tech startups. You have a military background. Now we are both full-time into coaching because we see the power of it to change lives and to help people really flourish, become who they were designed to be, and to go. When you can do that, that's when you're going to make the biggest impact in the world as well. So we're doing this strategically. Plus, we love it too. So it's great. Okay, so I have had Dave Mead. He's the CEO of WeAlign. He's been a great guest. Thanks so much, Dave. And Dave, I guess WeAlign is your company. So if they go to wealigncoaching.com, they'll see that. You're also, and any other ways to get in touch with you?
Yeah, that'd be the best way.
Okay, great. Yeah, check him out. His profile's up there under the team. And I want to thank you all for tuning into Dynamic Destiny Radio. Our quote for the day again is, "Be who you is. Cause if you ain't who you is, then you is who you ain't." And that's no fun, is it, Dave? It's no fun at all living that way. Be who you is. Cause if you ain't who you is, then you is who you ain't. Okay, so I had a wonderful time. I hope you did too. Please join me the first and third Wednesdays at noon Eastern, 11 a.m. Central, and 9 a.m. Pacific time. Hey, this is just a tip to the next show. The next presidential election is just a year away, and that means a lot of caustic craziness that's going to come across for the campaigns. On the next episode of Dynamic Destiny Radio, we're going to talk about how to survive and even thrive in the upcoming election year, how to maintain your mental health during that whole thing, and be sure to tune in. This has been Coach Pete reminding you that you really are God's gift to the world. So we need you to be the best you possible. Bye-bye.